You know that feeling when a piece of software just feels like it's fighting you? Like the workflow just doesn't match how your brain works at all.
Oh, right. The classic, why is this button hidden 3 menus deep kind of frustration.
Exactly. Now imagine that friction isn't just bad UI, but a literal structural tax on half the population. We are doing a deep dive today into a whole stack of sources, ranging from interface data briefs to the gender mag design method.
Because the mission here is to unpack the gender gap in computer science and AI. And we are looking at this not just as a social issue, but as a massive engineering and economic flaw.
Yeah, and there's this key concept right at the center of the sources called exclusion overhead.
Right, so that is a term coined by Joy Buolamwini. It basically measures the efficiency cost or the extra burden users bear when systems just aren't designed for them.
Like if a voice assistant can't understand higher pitched registers.
Or facial recognition failing on female faces.
Mhm.
The user has to repeat themselves, change their lighting, or find workarounds. That is time and energy men generally do not have to spend.
So you're basically operating at partial capacity. It's a tax that half the population pays just to use standard tools.
Precisely. And looking at the data briefs, that overhead is compounding because women make up only 22% of AI talent globally.
And less than 14% of senior executive roles, which is just, it's pretty stark.
It is. Which usually brings up that lazy counter argument of, well, maybe women just aren't interested in these fields.
But the Estonia and Portugal paradox in our source material totally nukes that idea.
It really does.
Yeah.
Because in those countries, you actually have near gender parity in the general labor force.
Right, they work at almost identical rates.
Exactly. But then you look at their AI sectors and the imbalance explodes to like 51%. It proves the issue is specific to tech culture, not just a general willingness to work.
And it actually gets worse the deeper you go into the plumbing of it all, like the computer systems research.
Yeah, we are talking operating systems, cloud architecture. Women only make up about 10% of authors in that space.
And what really struck me is that standard inclusivity policies haven't fixed it. Like diversity chairs or childcare at conferences aren't moving the needle statistically.
Because they don't address the root issue. The sources point to a masculine default built right into the education itself.
Oh, the textbook examples, that part was wild, like the Sybil attack in cryptography.
Right, the classic security threat where a malicious node forges multiple identities to swarm a network.
Yeah, and they literally named it Sybil after a famous case of a woman with multiple personality disorder. So the bad guy is female coded.
Meanwhile, the standard image processing test photo for decades was Lena, which is literally a Playboy centerfold.
It just sends this subconscious signal that women are either the threat or the object, but never the architect.
And when you pair that with only 10% female faculty in CS, it creates this brutal chicken and egg loop. You can't be what you can't see.
But let's shift to the debugging phase because we do have solutions here. The Gender Mag paper actually gives us a way to fix the software even before fixing the whole pipeline.
Gender inclusiveness magnifier. It is such a concrete tool. Instead of broad men versus women categories, it focuses on 5 specific problem-solving facets where statistical differences show up.
Right, so things like risk aversion versus risk tolerance or tinkering versus comprehensive information processing.
Exactly. And they use these personas. So you have Tim, who is very risk tolerant and will just click buttons until something works.
And then you have Abby, who wants to comprehensively understand the process before taking any action.
But the tech industry defaults to designing almost entirely for Tim.
Which brings up that great case study from Company X where a product manager, we'll call him John, used the Abby persona.
And he found all these usability bugs that his all-male team completely missed. And they weren't just inclusion bugs, they were actual quality bugs making the software objectively worse.
Because it only worked for one type of brain. Now that fixes the product side, but the sources also talk about policy fixes for the hiring pipeline, specifically tying into SDG 5 for gender equality.
Right, because right now, AI addresses things like violence against women under Target 5.2, but it really lags everywhere else. The proposed fix is cluster hiring.
Which makes so much sense. Instead of hiring one woman into a systems department where she's just isolated, you hire a whole cohort at once.
You create immediate critical mass. It builds the support network from day one rather than just piecemeal tokenism. It's planting a garden instead of a single flower in the desert.
It all really circles back to that old coding adage, Linus's Law. Given enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow.
But if all those eyeballs belong to people who think and look and solve problems the exact same way,
You are just going to miss the exact same bugs every single time. Diversity isn't just nice to have, it is literally a debugging tool.
which leaves us with a pretty heavy realization about what we are actually building here.
Right, because if we don't fix this exclusion overhead, are we actually building artificial intelligence?
Or are we just building artificial male intelligence? And what massive innovations are we losing out on because we're running the digital world on only 22% of our collective brainpower?
Definitely something for you to chew on the next time your facial recognition refuses to unlock.
Oh.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.